my name is Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about something very close to my heart, which is yet another career change that I am currently undergoing. I've mentioned this in another video, which I will link here, and a few comments and posts. But at the moment I'm learning coding, like IT coding. I'm learning to tell a computer what to do basically. And I wanted to dedicate a whole video to this topic because coding is just the tip of the iceberg, and I want to use this situation of my life to tackle a much deeper topic. Now, I know that recently I've released a couple of videos that are more on the negative side. They're not as cheerful as my first videos were when I first started. And this is definitely going to be a very negative video, so if you're not in the mood for that, I'm giving you permission to find another video. And if you've been with me for a while, you'll know that I'm an open book. Sometimes I'm sure you wish I weren't as open as I am, because I've told you everything about my life, and if I have fun, cheerful things to talk about, I will. But sometimes, unfortunately, there are also negative things, and I'm going to share these with you, and I'm prepared for a lot of hate comments for this, so I am mentally prepared, but I don't particularly care, and I'll tell you more about that part as well. So let me know what you think, and on that note, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and yes, do let me know how you feel about what I'm about to say. And you're obviously entitled to not believe or not buy into what I'm about to say, and you're very welcome to say that. So even if you have a negative comment or a negative view of what I'm going to talk about, I'm here to discuss it, even in the comments. And now, after this long intro, let's get started. So, just to give you a quick recap, I am no stranger to brutal career changes. As a child, I always wanted to be either an English teacher or a dancer, and dancing was never on the cards in the end. And then I wanted to become an actor, but I fell in love with maths, so I got into maths university, but I never went, and I studied acting instead, which is really what I wanted to do. So I have no regrets about choosing that path. And then, like every actor, I started working in hospitality because obviously I needed to eat. And then, since I'd always tutored people in English mainly, I then decided to become a qualified teacher of English as a foreign language, because while I was waiting for my acting career to potentially take off, I thought I'd be better off doing a job that I actually liked rather than hospitality. So then I started working privately as a teacher, online mainly, and I became a full-time teacher. Then, since my acting career wasn't going anywhere, I became a singing drag queen, and I will leave a video here for you to look at. And that was drastic as a change, because obviously I had to quite literally turn myself into a woman. But I am extremely happy that I did that, because in England the most typical format of drag is that we sing live and then we interact with the audience for minimum an hour. It can be more than that. And it was mentally intense, obviously, I'm gay, yes, so accepting that I wanted to turn myself into a woman was not hard to accept as a man, or what's left of that. But obviously, it's not something that you are born wanting to do. It was never my life dream to become a drag queen. So it took me a while to accept the implications of that as a career change, and also obviously it took me a while to physically acquire the knowledge to become a woman and to sing. I'm extremely happy that I did it, because when I was an actor, I'm a mathematician at heart, so I calculate things, and acting is all about being in the moment. So all we do as actors, we learn lines, and we have an idea of how we want to deliver our lines, but I don't know how you, as my sing partner, will deliver yours. So if you decide to deliver them angry, I have to react to your anger. I can't just ignore it and stick to what I had planned in my head. And as a mathematician, that didn't really work for me, because I already had a lot of potential reactions to a lot of potential feelings and emotions that you might give me, so I was never in the moment. And even when, I did try to be an actor for 7 years, but I felt very uncomfortable about it, because first of all, I had nothing to show for it. I did a couple of very small things. That I studied film and TV. I never studied theatre, and I never wanted to do theatre. But I was basically I was never on TV. I only ever did photo shoots or a couple of online videos, and I wasn't even sure whether I was good as an actor. I know that I can fake an emotion, but in a believable way, and all actors fake some emotions at some point, but you can't fake them all. So what's the point of being an actor if you can't really feel the emotion that you are portraying? So when I decided to become a drag queen, a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because I'm a singing drag queen and I can sing. Now, whether you like my style or not, because I do mainly pop music, which doesn't mean that it's easy to sing. It's deceptively hard, because you wouldn't think that, but Katy Perry is not as easy to sing as you may think. I can sing, so whether you like my songs or not, you can't deny my scientific talent in the notes that I hit in the way I sing. So as a drag queen, I feel very comfortable and proud, because I know that I have a talent. Also, I am very good at the interaction with the audience. So I am a good queen. I have a video here on why I am not modest, and I can do very few things in my life, and performing and being a drag queen is one of the very few things that I excel at. So I can do my job very well. And yes, I am proud of telling people that I am a drag queen, because I have something to show for it, and I know that I can be confident in what I have to offer. Again, it doesn't mean that everyone must like what I have to offer, but I have something to offer. With acting, I never really knew if I had something for people to even like or dislike. So this is a long intro, and it's not over yet, because during COVID, while I was a full-time online teacher and I couldn't be a drag queen at the time, I also started a YouTube channel where I teach English as a foreign language, because I love it. I love teaching, and I love teaching English. I did that for 3 years. It was an excruciating process, because I had to learn from scratch what being a YouTuber means, and it devoured all my time, because I teach advanced English and the language learning process through mathematical logic, which is it is as illusory as it sounds, because that's a kind of geek that I am. So it required a lot of time, for the preparation, for scripting, what I wanted to say. I had to create the slides, I had to film the videos, I had to edit them. And after 3 years, I decided to give it up, because for 2.5 years I did it for free. I never got monetized, because obviously it's not a mainstream channel, which I always knew. And then the 6 months that I kept the channel going monetized, I only made £20 a month. So after a lot of heartache, I decided to let it go, because it made no sense. And then luckily my dream came true. So in 2022 I became a full-time drag queen. So I quit teaching, because at that point I couldn't tolerate it anymore. I still kept my channel going because I liked the idea of imparting knowledge to a camera without interacting with human beings. And then so I ended my channel in April 2024, which is when I started this channel. And this channel is also a desperate career change. Now I'm glad that it turned out the way it turned out, but this in itself is bad, in the sense that I was desperate for money and I needed something on top of drag, because drag was good, but I needed more stability financially. And I started this channel only because a lot of the comments on my English channel were about the fact that I had a very soothing voice, and that I should try ASMR. So I decided to give it a go, and here we are today. So this is a very long intro, which I really wanted to do, because I really want you to understand how much drag means to me and how happy it makes me, and because that then will explain the devastation and the gravity and the magnitude of the emotional devastation that this new career change is bringing on. So unfortunately my drag is not going well at the moment. It doesn't pay the bills. Actually, it only just pays bills, and not even food at the moment, so I do need something else. So I've had to reinvent myself again, and I tried to do a little bit of teaching. While I am doing a little bit of teaching at the moment, I applied to the websites that I used to work for in the past, but now they've become a little bit more selective, because there are a lot more teachers. So I didn't get the positive response that I thought I would, but I do have a couple of students so I'm only teaching at the moment because I'm desperate for money, but the minute I have any more money, teaching will have to go, because I have a whole video somewhere, I think, about teaching. Yes, I will link it here. I love teaching, but I've lost the passion for interaction with the students. So yes, and now ASMR is going much better than my English channel. It still doesn't really pay my bills, because I make like around £170 a month, which is just a little bit of help, but obviously I need more. So I've now turned to coding. Why? Now again, just like drag, this was never on my cards. I never studied anything related to computers and laptops, but I am running out of careers that I want. I mean, everything that I've ever wanted, I'm already doing, or I've already done. I wanted to be a teacher, and I became one. I wanted to be a performer, which then turned out to be through the form of drag, and I am it. I don't really want to do anything else. I mean, how many people have multiple passions and desires as a career? Not many. So I'm lucky that I have 2 or 3, and I've exhausted all my options at the moment. Now, coding just fell on my lap in the sense that I was talking a couple of months ago. I was talking to a friend who is somehow involved with coding, but is not actively a coder. And while we were talking, after we talked, I went home and I thought, gosh, I really do need a full-time job now because drag is not there for me. And coding might be it. As you may know, I love maths, I love languages, so coding is literally the perfect marriage and combination of the two. I'm learning a new language that allows me to tell a laptop what to do. Coding, from the very little that I understand, is more or less that. Obviously it has immense implications and applications, but technically, yes, I am basically. So computers on their own, they're not stupid, but they're nothing. They don't do anything. Like a computer isn't born and then starts carrying out actions and functions. No, a computer does very well everything that you tell it. A computer has no initiative, let's put it like that. So I need to come up with the initiative, and I need to learn a specific language that tells the laptop specifically what I want to do, and the laptop will do exactly what I say. So I need to make sure that, so if there is an error in what the computer does, it's because I created it, more or less. So I need to check my language. And as a concept, it's amazing, especially as someone who likes maths and languages. It's perfect. I know very little about coding, which is why I've had to reduce my videos weekly, because I need time to study, because now I know very, 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 very little, because I haven't had time to really go deep into it. But this is more or less, so at the moment I like the concept. I then need to see if I actually like the more complex functions that come with coding, and I also need to see if I can even do them. So I need to see, I'm still at the stage where I need to see if this can even be a career, because again, this was never planned. It's not like, I'm a drag queen, but on the side I'm interested in coding, so I've always kept up to date with the coding world. No, coding has never been part of my life. So I am loving the very little that I've done, and I'm grateful somehow. But now it's time to talk about the negative part of what I want to talk about. So the fact that I can't be a full-time drag queen is devastating. It's heart-wrenching, and it's devastating, because as someone who has a passion as a performer, performing is not just something that I like and that I'm lucky enough to make money through. It's something that I need to do in order to be happy. Performing makes me happy. Not performing makes me unhappy. It's very simple. And I've always considered myself extremely lucky, because I am one of the very few people who actually have a strong, active, burning passion, because that brings you happiness. And I've always called this like liquid happiness, in the sense that it's almost like a drink. If I drink it, the effect is immediate. I am happy, and that's the most brilliant thing in the world. I am one of the very few lucky people who have something that makes them genuinely happy. And when I went in secondary school, I was in a class of 27 people, and out of all the 27, I must be one of the two who actually then did something that they really wanted to do out of passion. All the others went to very typical and easy universities, because some of them had no entry test, and So while they were figuring out what to do with their lives, they thought, well, I might as well do something easy that will grant me a job. And I've always felt, even to this day, I've always felt very sad for them, because it must be terrible not to have a driving passion that gives full meaning to your life. Obviously, if you do these jobs, then you get money, and money in itself can be a driving passion, don't get me wrong, but not having a job that you actually love, which also allows you to have money, must be quite sad. And also not even knowing what it is that you may or may not like must be quite it must make you feel lost. And I never had that, although I knew that being an actor at the time, when I wanted to be an actor, was an impossible feat. I was grateful that I had something to latch onto, and as painful as the pursuit was, at least I had something to keep me going. And then when it was too much, I then understood that I had to reinvent myself. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision. It took me 7 years to make. It was painful. I cried so much. I was so angry and obviously depressed because my passion was being ripped away from me. But I had to do it, and as I said before, I am eternally grateful for the fact that I then turned to drag, because that makes me even happier than acting, and to the point where if a director gave me a part in a film without even having to audition, I would turn it down, because I am so uncomfortable in my acting ability that I would feel on edge, I would feel miserable and distressed the whole way through. Regardless of whether I'm actually good or not, I might even be the best actor in the world, which I'm not saying that I am, but even if I were, I would feel so uncomfortable in myself that I would still not enjoy the process. So acting is not something that I want to do ever again. I am glad that I know what happens behind the scenes. I know that I know the industry. I know what happens in a film, what you see. I know how that's created. I like knowing all of that, but I do not want to be part of it because it just doesn't belong to me. And I'm happy with that conclusion. Now, drag is even more painful now because I know that I'm good. I have evidence that I'm good. Again, it's my word against yours, so I give you permission to take this as with a pinch of salt, because you can't know if I'm actually good, but I am, and I really make people happy. That's what I love, because I am a very nice and welcoming queen. Not only can I sing, which is undeniable, but I can really give you a good time. I offer you escapism, which is why people go and watch shows. I'm very welcoming. I laugh with the audience, not at the audience. I don't like nasty queens, and in one of the videos that I released, that I linked earlier, I'm sure you will see that. So you come to my shows, you can hear good music, and we basically have a chat together. I do put a smile on your face as a semi-comedian, and I'm good. The audience loves me wherever I go. The bar staff love me wherever I go. The problem is that I don't get bookings, and the maths is easily done. I need a certain amount of money to survive, and that amount of money is not coming in anymore. So it's time to turn to coding. And now, after only 25 minutes, let's talk about the extremely negative part of what I want to talk about. And this is what I'm assuming would bring me a lot of hate comments, but again, fire away. We live in a society where we must be positive, we must be proactive, and there's always a positive side to everything. There is always a bright side, and we always have to focus on those positives, because if we don't, then we are labelled as negative people that like feeling sorry for themselves, and people that don't take action, people that just glide through life as miserable and passive creatures. And I absolutely detest this with the most burning passion. I hate this concept. And over the years, unfortunately, I've come to believe in bad luck. Which, again, in a society where everything that you want is achievable, only, if you work hard enough, this is what is looked down on. And I've come to believe in it for two reasons. If you've watched other videos, you'll know how sick my mum is and how miserable a life she was dealt by God, by fate. She's the happiest person that I know. She's the most active person that I know. She's more active than my friends back home. You would never tell that she's very, very ill and that she had a terrible childhood and she had basically nothing from life. So looking at my mum, I mean, she is cursed and beaten down by bad luck constantly from a terrible childhood. And then, she got married, but my dad left. I left, but that wasn't, as a child, that's expected, so it's not something terrible. But obviously she'd rather have me back home. She's been terribly sick for almost 30 years now, and she's in constant relentless pain. She has a fungus that can turn into cancer, and nobody knows much about it. And it's painful. It's just painful. And funnily enough, the only good thing that has ever been given to her is her job. She works in a nursery. She loves children, and she was lucky enough to have that job. She had to fight for it, but she got it in the end. And I know this sounds very wishy-washy and airy-fairy, but even in the way, again, she has several other diseases, and also the way that she has colleagues that have, started lawsuits against the school and against her just because they are nasty people. My mum is the most loved person in the town where she teaches, and everyone wants their children to have her as their teacher. And at the party that we did for her 60th birthday, half of those people that came are parents of children that she used to have in a nursery. That these children are now 20-30 years old, but she left such a good mark that people are still in touch with her. So she's a good person. I'm not just saying this because she's with my mum, but other than her job, she has never received anything good from life, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And looking at her life, I realise that bad luck exists and you can't fight it. I'm not saying this only happens to her. I know there are people that have worse situations. I know that we're lucky enough to have a roof over our heads and all of that. I understand that. But considering that we are lucky enough to come from a privileged society where having a roof over your head is the bare minimum, and I know that not everyone can afford that, but yeah, I think you understand what I'm saying. Telling her that she's lucky because there are people in Africa that don't have that. It's true. I'm not trying to downplay that, but that's not enough to make someone feel good about their life. Because sometimes there is nothing to be happy about, And this is another thing that I hate about society, the fact that we are sort of forced into believing that, if you're not positive, it's your fault. You need to learn how to look at things positively, but sometimes there is nothing positive to look at. And now, bad luck also, I've accepted the fact that this bad luck affects me as well in two aspects of my life. Friendship, which I will talk about in a different video, and work. Now, as you know, I've never been in a relationship, I've never had a boyfriend, and as baffling as that is to me, I don't consider that bad luck, because it doesn't really, it is, but it doesn't affect my life that much, because I am perfectly self-sufficient on my own. But with work, I have tried everything to make my careers take off, but they never did. Acting never went anywhere. Whether it was the right or wrong career is beside the point, because I invested a lot of time, money and heart in it, and then the tears that I cried before I realised that I had to let it go, I would not wish that on a lot of people. On some people, but not a lot of them. And then teaching, which I knew was never my primary passion, but I tried to make it work. And actually teaching I could have kept doing as a freelance, but it didn't pay well at all, and also it burnt my soul. My YouTube channel, I had high hopes for that, but because also of the nature of how I dealt with English as a language, I understand that, it was meant to fail. But again, even that did not, it impacted me a lot, very negatively. And then I was so happy that I found what I really wanted to do, which is drag. But as I said, I don't get bookings, and where does bad luck come in here? It's the fact that, as I said, everyone loves me. People that come to my shows, they then book me for private parties, for their private birthdays, so people do like me. But then the managers who have to make the bookings, they just won't book me. And what kills me is that there is no explanation for it. I've never been given an explanation. I would love to receive one, because as I mentioned in another video, if they told me, look, I don't book you for this and that reason, I would have two options. I could change, hoping to then get the booking, or I could embrace it and say, no, well, what you're telling me is nonsense. I stick to what I believe in, but at least I will know that if I do that, the consequence will be that I don't get bookings. But at least I would have I would get a say in it. I could take some agency, but I'm never told anything. And the big venues that I became a drag queen for, they just won't book me. I have asked everyone. I've done so many competitions and free shows, hoping that they would then turn into paid gigs. Nothing ever came of these things. I've contacted managers, I've contacted all sorts of people and all sorts of venues. When I walk around London and I see pubs, I write them all down, and then I contact them on Instagram or however I can, even if they're straight venues, just because some straight venues might want a drag. So I've put myself out there in every possible way. Like every other drag queen that works, and I travel. I don't just stay in London. I would go to Cardiff for the evening and then come back on a night bus at 5 a.m. because I have a show in Cardiff, I have a show in Leeds, and we all do that, so that does not make me special. But I put in the work, and I quite literally put myself out there. And I'm very good. That's a problem. If I did all of this, but then I were bad at it, I would accept it. But I am really, really, really good. And every time I do a show, obviously there are people that don't know me, they come to talk to me and they ask me, oh, you would work really well in this and that venue, and I'm like, yeah, I know, and I've contacted them several times, but it just won't work. This business is all about who you know, it's true, and I don't know anyone because, as I've mentioned before, I don't particularly like the drag world. I don't like many drag queens. But it's also true that it's not drag queens that gives me jobs, it's the managers. So whether I'm friends with drag queens or not, that has no impact on the bookers then booking me. So I don't understand what these bookers don't like about me. And yes, it's a very cliquey world, and I wouldn't want to be part of the clique, but I've also never been given the chance to be part of the clique. I've never been offered a seat at the table. If I had been, I would probably have refused, but that would have been on me, so at least I would have myself to blame. But I was never offered a seat at the table. So even if I wanted to be part of the clique, I couldn't, because no one wants to let me in. And I spent years, I've now been a drag queen for 6 years, with COVID in the middle, and I've spent years trying to understand what it is that I do wrong, and also because I'm a bit socially awkward, because I'm a mathematician, I always thought that maybe it was something that I did or said off stage. On stage, I'm brilliant. There's no other way to put it. But I've always taken into consideration the fact that maybe I come across as rude or whatever because I am socially awkward sometimes, especially in these situations. My paralysing shyness, which I can control in my normal life and on stage, but in these situations off stage, in the work environment, my paralysing shyness comes out. So I can 100% see that maybe I come across as a bit bizarre to the managers, which is why they may not want to book me. But I never really talk to these managers anyway, so we talk via Instagram if they book me, but I never really interact with them afterwards. And also, as weird as I can be, I don't think I am weird enough for someone to not want to have me on stage delivering a brilliant show, which is different as well. So all drag queens sing Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, very, well, I find them slightly boring, but ballads, mellow ballads. I'm a party queen. I sing Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Rihanna, Bruno Mars, Evanescence, I do Bon Jovi, I do I'm a party queen. You want me on a Friday or Saturday to bring up and to light up the mood. And I'm not saying that all these other drag queens should be fired. I'm not saying that I should take over. I'm just saying that if they get a slot on a Friday, I deserve one just as much as they do. Also, most drag queens, they can't fully sing. They can hold a tune, but they can't sing. They're not that funny. They're very awkward on stage. They're very nasty on stage, but then they get work, and I don't. And again, so I've spent years and years and years trying to figure out what it is that I do wrong, because I've always thought that it must be me. Obviously, I'm not one who want to cry for himself and what's the word? To feel sorry for himself. I always assume that there is something that I can improve on, and I want to take action. I want agency, and I want to do what I can to make things happen. But I've now realised that it's just bad luck, unfortunately, and you just can't fight it. It's a losing battle. And there is this specific venue, which is the one reason why I became a drag queen, because I wanted to perform there, and the staff. So the bartenders, they love me. And the few times where I used to perform, because the manager never booked me directly and actively, he never said, okay, that day I want you. He only ever booked me, because now he really doesn't anymore, he only ever booked me as a last minute cover. So if a drag queen was suddenly sick, he would call everyone else, and then if everyone else was either sick or dead, he then called me. Which is extremely sad, but it meant that at least I had a few shows. Now, for example, last year I was there every weekend basically in November and December, and I loved it. That was a dream come true. And the staff of that venue, they adore me when they see me. You know, they start smiling like from ear to ear, and they really root for me. They really want me to be there, and they don't understand why the manager won't book me, to the point where some of them have actually, well, one of them in particular, he came to talk to me about this situation, and I physically saw him try to talk me up to the manager because he really wants me there. That was so heartwarming to see, but at the same time it was infuriating, because again, that proved to me that I am good. And you know, these bartenders, they see drag queens every day. In this venue, they have 4 or 5 drag queens every Friday and Saturday, and 1 every other day of the week. So if they like me, it's because they know, they know what to look out for in a drag queen, and if they like me, it means something. They're not just a random stranger on the street who knows nothing about drag. So that's also what... So in the past, I used to love receiving compliments from the audience and the bar staff when they said, you know, you're really good, it's a shame that you don't work here, it's a shame that they don't book you. Nobody understands why I don't get booked. And now I'm actually getting frustrated and angry when I receive these comments, because now I'm a bit fed up of hearing them. I don't want compliments. Obviously, you know, an audience member can only give me compliments, they can't give me a job, and obviously they mean well. But I don't need words, I need... yes, of course I need the money, but I need not even validation, because I know that I'm good. I don't need a booking to tell me that I'm good. I need to be acknowledged. I need to be allowed to work, because it's what I do best. And you have no idea how many people from the audience complain about the drag queens that are big names and that perform all the time, because they are uninspiring and uninspired. Most of them don't even look like they want to be on stage. They can't sing. They're very nasty and really, really negative on stage, because they bring their personal negativity onto the stage. And I'm not like that. I'm a breath of fresh air. And then a lot of people say to me, I don't understand why you're not on that stage instead of that drag queen. I'm not saying that all drag queens are bad, you know? And again, I'm not saying that I should take over and get everyone else fired. I'm just saying that I deserve a slot just as much as other drag queens do. If they deserve it, I certainly do as well. The very few venues that used to book me have now stopped booking me as well, which is why now I can't afford to be a full-time drag queen, because I've lost those as well. And again, if there is something wrong that I've done, I would like to know, and I'm ready to take responsibility. I'm ready to, again, potentially change or stick to it, knowing what's going to happen. But the thing is that there is nothing to tell me, because I am good. But I'm just cursed, and I know it's taken me a long time to accept the fact that, yes, saying that I'm cursed is acceptable. It's not socially acceptable, but I accept it, because literally I've pulled out all the stops to make this happen. I've stopped at nothing. I've never said no to any potential gig or anything that could lead to something else. But some people have bad luck, and it's tearing me apart, but what can you do? And now I want to talk about the reaction of other people when I say this. I've only recently started to talk about bad luck, to friends and other people, because again, I know it's something that is not accepted and it's looked down on. It's saying that means that, again, I am a miserable bastard, feeling sorry for himself and blaming the universe when he should be doing something actively instead. But I've done all the active things. They've never led to anything. But I understand that for people who are averagely lucky, it's a very hard concept to understand. Let's talk about a real job. You know, I'm not saying that everyone gets a job, but technically, if you study hard, you will face competition, obviously. But then, if you study, oh gosh, I don't know, well, coding, if you study hard, you may get a few no's along the way, but you will get a job. And that's it. Which is brilliant, and that's how it should be. And if you're not good enough, if you fail an interview, if the reason why you fail is a specific, you didn't know a specific topic, then you know what to improve on. You can go back home and study more. Or, people are most people are averagely lucky, and I'm very happy for them. And again, I am generally lucky in other aspects of my life. So it's not that my mum is just unlucky. Luckily, I have some positive aspects in my life, and I'm not disregarding that. But this one is undeniably unlucky. And so yes, what kills me about my job is the fact that it's out of my hands. There is nothing more that I can do, nothing that I can change, or if there were something that I can change, I don't even know what it is, because nobody will tell me. And it is absolutely devastating. It's, yeah. So, I know that I'm not crying or anything like that. Maybe I'm not even expressing how torturous this is, but don't you worry. I'm not crying because I have no tears left to cry. So yes, and I've realised that yes, I've always felt a bit uncomfortable mentioning this thing about bad luck, because again, I don't want to be thought of as lazy, basically, but I've now accepted it. Now, I understand the people who are lucky enough to be averagely lucky don't really understand what I mean, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they're not in a situation where they would even need to consider my situation. But it's true. It's scientifically true. It's undeniably true. I'm not saying that I'm the only queen these things happen to. I know other unlucky queens. So it's not just me, and I'm not the most unlucky person in the world. No, but in this aspect of my life, it's scientifically there. I can show you screenshots of messages that were never replied to, and this happens to a lot of us anyway. Yeah, but yeah, I'm never given a chance, and even if I am given a chance, I'm never given a second chance for reasons completely unknown to me. And I'm a teacher, I believe in meritocracy, and if I knew for a fact that I am not good, I would be sad, but I would accept it. Or even if I were very, so I am good, but even, so let's say, so if I'm good, but the only drag queens that actually get work were better than me, I would accept that as well, because I would say, yes, I am good, but I'm not as good as them, so I can see why they're working, and not me. But the problem is that, as I said earlier, most drag queens that get work are, if not terrible, if not bad, then mediocre. So again, the frustration stems from the fact that if they are allowed to do it, I should be allowed to do it too. And there's just no explanation as to why that doesn't happen. So yes, I am now at peace with the fact that, not that there is anything to be happy about, but I am at peace with the fact that I can't fight it anymore. There's nothing to fight because it's a losing battle. If bad luck decides to strike you down, it will strike you down. There is no coming out of it. I still do the best that I can. So if I see a new venue, I will contact them, knowing full well they will never get back to me. So I still do put the work in, but I know that it would lead to nothing. And I will tell you this. Now, I'm filming on the 21st of November, so maybe by the time this comes out, which is, gosh, the 22nd of January, so in 2 months, things might have changed, but I seriously doubt that. So there is another big venue that I want to perform at here in London, and where I would be perfect because the audience are fairly young and they would love my songs. That's the thing, it's a crime, it's a financial crime for these venues not to book me, because I would bring in new crowds and I would keep the ones that I have happy. So it makes no sense for them. I don't understand it. But yeah, so there is this venue and I will never work because I've contacted all the managers, all the friends and families, all everyone that I could contact, I have contacted. And the manager of the books is a bitch, is one of those bitchy gays that I can't stand. I was never given a chance. I was just written off immediately for no reason. Now the manager is changing. I went to a friend's birthday the other day, and one of the people invited was this guy, who then turns out to be the guy that my friend is now seeing. I didn't know that. And we just introduced each other, and we talked about me being a drag queen, doing ASMR and all that, and I said, so what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm the new manager at this venue. And I froze. I literally, my heart stopped, because I've been trying to get into that venue for years and years. And I was like, oh my god. My first thought was, oh my gosh, things are changing, because the only way I could ever get into these venues that I like is if the manager changes, but obviously managers don't die every day, they don't change every day. And I was like, oh my god, this is my way in. But then I was so shocked and so unready for this information that I stopped talking, and then at the end of the night I told him, look, I'm really sorry, I froze because I was not expecting this at all. This venue has been one of my dreams for a long time. I would love to get into it. Here's my business card if you're ever interested. So he told me that he is the new manager, but the manager that doesn't book me is still there, so the manager is on his way out. I don't know when it's going to happen, but this new guy is already working there. He told me that he seemed interested in what I told him about what I do. I gave him my business card so he can check me out. And he said that because he's brand new to the business, so the people that book are the manager that doesn't book me, but I think every act that he wants to book has to be approved by the owner, but the input comes from this manager that doesn't book me. So I've already contacted the owner as well, but that led to nothing, obviously. And so he said, look, I'm still brand new, so I'm not really sure how much power I have even with the owner, but I'll see what I can do. If anything comes of it, it will come when the manager that doesn't want me leaves. I don't know when that will happen. Now, why am I saying this? For an averagely lucky person, this would almost automatically mean at least one gig. But I know my luck, so although I was extremely thrilled that day, I know that nothing will ever come of it. So, I mean, if it does, I will be ecstatic and elated, but I've learned to have no expectations anymore, because I know that it's me that we're talking about. Again, even if it did happen, it wouldn't be happening now as we speak, because things need to change in the venue first. But I'm not holding my breath, But again, an averagely lucky person, this would be how their career would take off. They meet the right person, which angers me a lot, the fact that it's all about who you know. But I've been given this opportunity after years of being ignored and dismissed and discarded and disregarded, and this is my time to shine. It won't happen. If it does, I will let you know. But even that, it's just one venue anyway. I won't, it won't make my career. And even if that happens, that does not cancel any of what I'm telling you. I mean, my bad luck still stands because I'm still having to find a different job. So, yes. And, when people tell me, like my friends tell me, oh, why don't you contact? So, again, because they can't understand that this is not in my hands, it's out of my hands, it's out of my control. So they always say, if we go to this venue, say, oh, why don't you contact them? So they mean well, obviously, but they think they're giving me advice, that they're telling me something that I haven't thought about, because I need to be pushed and spurred on to action. And I'm like, no, yeah, I mean, I've already contacted them, nothing came of it. And they say, oh, if this specific venue doesn't get back to you, maybe send them a follow-up email. I'm like, yeah, I've done that. So I have done everything that you could possibly think of, which in an ideal world would lead to an opportunity. But it's just not happening. Don't get me wrong, I have a couple of venues that still want me, but yeah. And again, I wish I knew if there is something that I do wrong. But again, I've now stopped even thinking about that, because it's just bad luck. It's terrible. It's terrible to say, but it's true. And there's nothing you can do. Now, coding. There is one little positive thing, which is the fact that I do like it, and I am not only am I creative, but I'm also a very active mind, because I'm a scientist at heart. And I even thought this, even if I were a full-time, fully fledged successful drag queen, let's say, even if I worked 5 days a week as a drag queen, I would get enough money to live on. But during the day, I would be free, I would have nothing to do. So maybe it's good that I have coding, because maybe even as a successful drag queen, I would learn coding just for the fun of it, just to keep my scientific mind active. So, and I've always wanted to be just a full-time drag queen. So, and I wanted to be so successful that I didn't need another job. But then, so having another job I've always perceived it as a failure. So the fact that you need another job because your drag is not good, going well enough. But then I know one very successful queen who would not need another job, but she has a day job because she wants it, she likes what she does, and then on top of that she has a drag. And I thought to myself, maybe in the long run as a successful drag queen I would get bored of just having that, so I would want to bring more meaning to my life by becoming a coder or something else. So I am grateful that I am exploring coding, also because even if I were a successful drag queen, I'm a singer. So let's say in 5 years' time I damage my voice irreversibly, I can't perform anymore, meaning that I would be out of a job anyway. But at least by then I will have a fallback plan, which is my coding that I'm learning now. So having to learn coding is not a curse in itself, but the bad luck, which I will not deny. So I do not want anyone saying, oh, so there is a positive side because now you have coding. No, because the devastating truth is that I'm not learning coding out of leisure and pleasure. I'm learning coding out of desperation because I need to put food on the table. So, and I am desperate. I am desperate for money, as in I need to make sure I get to the end of the month. So, seeing positivity in this is what I call delusional positivity, and maybe I will make a video on this because it's, again, as I'm sure you've now gathered, I can't stand it because it's not objective. Sometimes there is nothing to be happy about, there is nothing to be positive about, and you just need to accept it. It doesn't mean that I will take extreme measures as a way of reacting to this unbeatable and undeniable bad luck. Extreme measures, as in, I still want to be around. Let's put it like that. But I can't deny the undeniable scientific truth and evidence that my situation work-wise is horrendous. It's just cursed and plagued by bad luck. There is nothing positive to learn from this. There is nothing positive to gain from this. Coding, again, the way I'm learning it, I won't accept it as a positive thing that should keep me going and keep me happy and make me ignore the devastating effect that not being able to do what I love has on me. No. So, in the past I've been told that I have a negative mentality, I have a negative approach to life. And I've thought about that a lot. But I've now realised that, again, sometimes there is nothing to be happy about. And if people that call me negative, it's because, I'm not saying that, obviously we all have issues, don't get me wrong, we all have something that could be better. I'm not even attempting to imply that everyone else's life is perfect. But when you have very little to be happy about, of course you'd be a bit negative because you're just being objective. If I were a full-time drag queen and a full-time coder, which I would both love, and then I would still be, if I was still miserable after that, then I would accept the fact that maybe I have an innately negative approach to life which doesn't allow me to enjoy what is there to be enjoyed. I would understand that, but I have nothing to enjoy to begin with, career-wise. So, yeah, I am sick and tired of these baseless beliefs in the fact that it all comes down to how you perceive life. I mean, of course, something good or something happens and I can decide to be extremely negative about it or extremely positive about it. Of course, it's up to me. But I would say that in the face of everything, all the bad cards that I've been dealt, especially career-wise, I mean, I've turned myself into a woman, so I'm not scared of change. I'm willing to tackle it and to face it head on. And I'm very happy to then see the potentially positive results. It was just a fluke that drag turned out to be more fulfilling for me, but it may not have. And now that I have that, it's been taken away from me. It's been ripped and wrenched out of my soul again, just like acting was. So, no, I will not accept any fake positivity around that. It doesn't mean that I spend my days crying all the time, because, I mean, as you see, even when I do these videos, as negative as they are, I think I still convey them in a fairly, if not positive, neutral way. I'm not sitting here trying, bring everyone down. I'm trying to analyse this, and I still go out, I still do my shows, I still put a smile on people's faces when I perform, and also when I go out I'm still quite lively. I'm very lively, I'm very happy, and that's something also that kills me. It's as I said before, I am one of those few people that can say that they have something that makes them happy, but I'm just not giving it. And oh, this is so absurd of me to even think, but it's a waste of happiness. I mean, in a society and in a world where most people just glide through life with no actual purpose, I am one of those few people that can actually make full use of life. I can give my life full meaning, and I'm not given the opportunity. It's just there. Again, it's this liquid happiness that I talked about earlier. But I can't get it because it doesn't come from me. I need to get it from someone else. Someone needs to book me. So yeah, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say. Again, I mean, do feel free to attack me. I don't mind negative comments. I mean, I'll survive either way, but I believe in the fact that, when people say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Well, when we expose ourselves on social media, I do not believe in social media. I don't use it. It's very funny that I have 2 YouTube channels and 3 Instagram accounts, but I only use them for work. I never read comments. I never leave comments. I never like pictures on Instagram or anything like that. I never scroll down the page because it just doesn't belong to my being. But I disagree when people say, oh, only comment if you have something nice to say, because people are allowed to have negative opinions on whatever picture you post on Instagram or whatever video you release. I think it's very hypocritical and flat out stupid to expect people to just want to say nice things. I mean, and as someone as vain as I am, I mean, even I realise that. So I don't mind actually people. I don't think people that write negative comments are any better or worse than people that leave positive comments. As someone who would never write a comment on anything in either way, good or bad, I don't even understand why people that write positive things write them. Please do keep going, because I need your comments and I really appreciate them, and I hope I can show you my appreciation by the fact that I reply to every single one of your comments, and I really do appreciate them, especially because I would never cross my mind to leave a comment on anything. So I really do appreciate your contribution from the bottom of my heart, especially because your comments tend to be very deep. They're not just thank you. That you share your life with me, and I love that, so please do keep going. But so I just don't agree with the fact that negative comments should not be left. I mean, if someone feels free enough to leave a positive comment, someone else who has a negative comment can do the same. And I personally do not let them affect me. If they're negative, I don't let them affect me. But I received negative comments, and not negative comments, like once I talked about dark rooms, and a guy sent me a comment. So he firmly believes, he is firmly against them. He said that he's disgusted by the idea that dark rooms exist and the gays just want to sleep around. And his words were very strong and very negative, but he wasn't attacking me. He was just expressing strong opinions on the topic, and that is fine. I mean, I'm brutal with what I say. God knows how many people I've offended with all these videos that I've made. So I don't mind brutality, and I can still have a conversation with that brutality. But if it's just, a flat out comment on, like another guy once, because I started making videos in Italian, and as you know by now, I don't like speaking Italian. An Italian guy wrote, "Oh, shame on you," like shame on you, stay where you are, meaning England, something like that. Now, Again, I attached no importance or meaning to that, but that is just flat out nastiness because there is no conversation. But he is fully entitled to feel that way. So I don't think he is a horrible person for writing, for thinking it or writing it. I am exposing myself out there. I'm telling Italians that I don't like Italian. I still don't understand why they would feel offended, because there's nothing to be offended about, in my opinion. But I respect that, again, the same way a lot of Italians took to me for other reasons and they showed me their support. He has the right to show me his lack of support, his hatred. I don't know how to say that. So yes, feel free to send me negative comments anyway, if they are negative in the sense that they disagree with what I say. I'm very happy to have a conversation about it. Obviously, ultimately, I will still think what I think, and you will still think what you think, but we can discuss it. If it's just a flat-out insult, well, then I will ignore it. But thank you for the comment anyway, because it's good for the algorithm. Okay, on that note, I will let you go, because, gosh, I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. So, on that note, yes, do go and get some rest, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.